Hi everyone, so we are going to discuss the second part or the second topic for this chapter, which is about plant tissues, particularly the ground, the dermal, and the vascular tissues. And again, at the end of this lesson, hopefully you'll be able to identify the different plant cell types, differentiate the different plant tissues, differentiate meristematic and non-meristematic tissues, and explain how different plant tissues aid in growth and development of the plant. Now, the cells that make up a plant from three main tissue systems are the ground tissue, the dermal tissue, and the vascular tissue. For comparison, animals have four types of tissues, which we will be discussing on general biology too. Each tissue type derives its properties from a unique combination of specialized cells. Together, these cells carry out all the plant's function. So first we have the ground tissue. So again, for this section, we'll be discussing ground tissue, dermal tissue, and vascular tissue. So, ground tissue often fills the spaces between more specialized cell types inside roots, stems, leaves, fruits, and seeds. For example, the pulp of an apple, the photosynthetic area inside a leaf, and the starch-containing cells of a potato all consist of ground tissue composed mainly of parenchyma cells. The cells that compose ground tissue are important sites of photosynthesis, respiration, and storage. So, as what was discussed during the previous lesson, so the ground tissue is made up of three different types of cells. We have collenchyma, sclerenchyma, and parenchyma. And by the way, this is a picture showing you the different types of tissues in a plant which are found all together. So you have here the ground tissue, this part. You have the dermal tissue, which is this part. And you also have the vascular tissue, which is made up of the vascular bundles. So now we move on to the dermal tissue. So the dermal tissue covers the plant. In a herbaceous plant, dermal tissue consists of epidermis, which is a single layer of tightly packed, flat, transparent parenchyma cells. In woody plants, tough bark replaces the epidermis in stems and roots. And this is how the epidermis would look like, this part. This is how it would look like under the microscope. And this is how you would envision the dermal tissue to be positioned together with the vascular tissue and also the ground tissue. Okay, so natural selection has shaped dermal tissue over hundreds of millions of years. When plants first moved onto land, they were at risk for drying out. This condition selected for new water-conserving adaptations. For instance, in land plants, epidermal cells secrete a cuticle, which is a waxy layer that coats the epidermis of the leaves and stem. The cuticle conserves water and protects the plant from predators and fungi. And the cuticle under the microscope would look like this. So this is the thin waxy layer, which is the cuticle. Okay, so the cuticle is impermeable not only to water but also to gases such as oxygen and carbon dioxide. Now the question is, how do these gases pass through the cuticle? So the answer would be the stomata, or singular, we call it the stoma. I hope you can still remember the function of the stomata in photosynthesis because this is an important part of the plant. Now, the stomata or stoma are pores through which leaves and stems exchange gases with the atmosphere. Now, a pair of specialized guard cells, this one, we have here the guard cells, surrounds each stoma and controls its opening and closing. So you will see here, this is the stoma, the opening itself, and the two cells that surrounds it or guards it, we call it that as the guard cells. Now, stomata occupy about 1% to 2% of the leaf surface area, allowing for a balance between gas exchange and water conservation. Open stomata let carbon dioxide diffuse into a leaf for photosynthesis, but also allow water to diffuse out. The pores typically close when conditions are too dry. So I hope, again, you can still remember our discussion naman about C3, C4, and CAM plants. Again, this is how the dermal, the ground, and the vascular tissues would all look like together. This is another version of that. And next, we have the vascular tissue. So xylem, or by the way, vascular tissues transport water, minerals, and carbohydrates and other dissolved compounds throughout the plant. And there are two types of vascular tissues. We have xylem and phloem. So first, we have xylem. So xylem is a tissue that transports water and dissolved minerals from the roots to all to all parts of the plants. The water-conducting cells of xylem are elongated and have thick, lignin-rich secondary walls. They are dead at maturity, which means that no cytoplasm blocks water flow. Next, we have phloem. So phloem tissue transports dissolved organic compounds, primarily sugars produced in photosynthesis. Now, vascular tissues, which are again xylem and phloem, form a continuous distribution system embedded in the ground tissue of shoots and roots. In stems and leaves, a vascular bundle, which is a strand of tissue containing xylem and phloem, often together with collenchyma tissue or sclerenchyma fibers. The tough fibers protect against animals that might otherwise tap into phloem's rich sugar supply. Okay, so the transition from water to land selected for vascular tissues, which accommodate the division of labor between roots and shoots. So, as we know, roots absorb water and minerals while shoots produce food. Xylem and phloem shuttle these materials throughout the plant's body. But vascular tissue also has another function, which is support. Lignin strengthens the walls of xylem cells and sclerenchyma fibers. This physical support enables vascular plants to tower over their non-vascular counterparts, which is an important adaptation in the intense competition for sunlight. Again, this is the picture this is a picture of how the vascular, the ground, and the dermal tissues would look like altogether under the microscope.